It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Christmas edition of the Brouhaha.
Christmas, huh?
The Christmas edition.
That's Christmas already here.
It's here.
It just seems like it was here last year about this time.
You know, it's funny you should say that. It seems like every year about this time it comes around.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Now, I can think of a lot of things that I wouldn't want to come around every year, but I think Christmas coming around every year is a great deal.
I do too.
You pro-Christmas?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We have to remember the reason for Christmas is the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
But I just love everything around it too. Seems like people, I mean, you know, the churches are all decorated, houses are decorated, the music, you know, everybody, you know, you hear Silent Night, you know, over and over and over. And
I like Grandma got run over by a reindeer myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then there was one, Daddy, please don't get drunk again this Christmas. Remember that one?
Yeah, and I remember, don't leave all your exes in Texas.
Oh my goodness. Boy, we have gone south in a heartbeat.
We have. Great
Lord,
songs
yes,
at
Lord.
Christmas time.
Yeah, well, how you enjoying everything going on in the college football world with the playoffs, man?
Yeah,
how about them playoffs?
You know, we keep talking about, you know, the best teams in and out.
I'm out of that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the way they constructed it to satisfy everybody, and not just the Power 5 schools, but everybody. It was the 4 conference champs would get the first 4 seeds, and then the 5th conference champ would be one of the top 12, which ended up being Clemson. But people are always are fussing, and I understand that they're fussing, but I don't know why they're fussing individually at Indiana and SMU because they were chosen by the committee, Clemson. But what I'm saying is, they said, well, they're blowouts. Well, listen, I've watched a lot of Super Bowls back when San Francisco was playing. And they ran up 59 points on the Denver Broncos one year in New Orleans. Yeah. I'm just saying, sometimes you're going to have, in the first rounds, you're going to have uneven games. You know, you have them in the basketball tournaments, you know.
Well, I agree with everything you say. I've been hearing this preached, the 4 best teams, and I assumed that they were picking the 12 best teams, and I said early on that was going to be hard to pick the 12 best. But they're not worried about who's best. I mean, that's out the window. They're just going to take the people that qualify and then play. So the best teams would be left out. But that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. That's the way they want to do it. They want to leave the best out and put some sorry ones in.
Well, I got
no problem with that.
I think they've got the 4 best in there somewhere.
Well, the 4 best would be, but I mean, I agree with you. They got the 4 best, but they're not. That's not a criteria anymore.
The others
it used to be, but it's not.
Yeah, well, the others is just to make more money for everybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, somebody was, you know, saying, you know, well, you know, this and that. And I said, well, we used to fuss. You know, they still fuss in the NCAA bracket when they pick 65 teams now or something like that. And they're still fussing about, okay, so-and-so was left out. You know, let's open it up for everybody, you know, or something like that. Now, you can do it 2 ways. You know, you could have 16 teams in, one plays 16, you're going to have blowouts. Or you could go to 6. If you want to go to 6, you could have 1 and 2 rest and, you know, make it condense it a little bit. Instead of 3, have it over 3 weekends, right in a row. I mean, you know, something like this. I think with Georgia and Oregon and all that, I think they would have liked to play last week. You know, even though
it's going to be different next year, and they're going to be taking these conference champions out. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I want all of our listeners to listen in now. Marshall was saying this. Over the next couple of years, the conference champions are not going to matter.
Oh. Now
Mr.
Wood, have you ever signed a contract before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I was just wondering.
Yeah. So what's your point?
Well, these people signed off on a contract last year.
What, for how long?
I think it's 5 years.
Well, in 5 years it'll be gone.
Yeah.
Conference championships would be gone.
Sure, everything is.
I'll change mine to 1 to 2 to 5. It'd be gone.
Okay. Well, you can just say 4 now because this year counts as 1.
Oh, so we're 4 years away.
4 more years.
Yeah,
I've heard that somewhere before. 4 more years.
More.
Where have I heard that before?
Everybody wants 4 more years.
4 more years.
But anyway, well, what you got for us in terms of guests tonight?
Well, we're going to talk a little basketball today. We're going to talk Ole Miss basketball. The Rebels are off to a pretty good start this year. They've lost 1 game. They got a big game this weekend against Memphis, up at Memphis, which is always a big game. And so we're going to talk to a former Jones Junior College basketball coach. He's also a former South Jones basketball coach. And he is now the color commentator for Ole Miss because back when Ole Miss had a lot of success under Rod Barnes, if you remember Rod Barnes.
I do.
He was one of Rod's key assistants. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about Rebel basketball. So we'll see how the little round ball is going, okay?
Does he have a name?
Yeah, he does.
What is it?
Mark Dukes.
Mark Dukes.
Dukes with an S. Dukes with an S.
Well, let's take a break here from our sponsor, and then Dale and I'll be back with the Christmas edition guest, Mark Dukes, color commentary for Ole Miss Rebel basketball. We'll see you after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
All right, our guest tonight is Mark Dukes. Mark's is a former Ole Miss assistant basketball coach, and now he does the color commentator for the Ole Miss Basketball Network. Mark, how are you doing on this little chilly day?
Well, I'm doing well. Thank you, Dale. It's nice and cool up here in Oxford. Y'all got warm weather, I'm sure, down there.
Yeah.
So kind of wishing I was moving south a little bit.
Well, if we could get rid of the wind, I would agree with you. You know, that wind kind of wants to cut through you at times. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about your background, like maybe, how you got into basketball and especially basketball coaching and how you ended up where you are now. You just go ahead and kind of fill in the blanks for us.
Well, I'll do a quick job, Dale, because if I did it all, we wouldn't have time on the show going back as far as I go back. But I played basketball in college at Mississippi College and didn't get it out of my system and decided I wanted to go into coaching. And my first job was at Raleigh High School. And from there, I kind of figured I wanted to stay with that, and then went to eventually to Jones County and coached at South Jones High School, and then a year or so later at Jones College. And it was one of the great experiences that I had in coaching at Jones, from great people, and at South Jones, great friends, great people in that part of the world in Jones County. Then kind of worked my way up to Northwest Mississippi Community College in the 90s. And from there, in 1998, I went to Ole Miss as an assistant until 2003. I kind of retired from the state of Mississippi, coached private school for a number of years. And after I finished that, I got hooked up with the analyst job for Ole Miss Basketball Network. So that's kind of a brief overview.
Well, listen, that's a pretty good story. So, in your days at Ole Miss, back you were coaching with Coach Barnes up there. They were some really great years for y'all, weren't they?
Yeah, I try to, and I think I'm telling the truth when I tell this. I think it's the best years. The years I was there were the best years, and not because of me. I'm not surely saying that, but were some of the best years in the history of Ole Miss basketball. Ole Miss has never been to the Sweet 16 again. Since we went to the NCAA tournament 3 out of 4 years. Got the first win Ole Miss ever had in the NCAA tournament in 1998 with the win over Villanova in the first round, and then 2 years later we get the win over Notre Dame to go to the Sweet 16 in San Antonio, which was a great experience, and just some great guys, and Coach Barnes did a great job job coaching them, and some good players and some good friends, and just a fun time.
Well, how did the color commentary
Well, I got out of coaching after I got private school. I kind of decided it was time for me to just let it go, and so I didn't want to get away from basketball though completely. So I made a call to Gary Darby, who's a radio guy up here that everybody up in this part of the world knows. Matter of fact, did the game with me Tuesday night. He fills in for David Kellum on occasion. Great guy, and so I told him, I said, man, if you find any high schoolers that need somebody that wants to do an analyst, color commentary, or whatever, I just want something to do with basketball. And man, I get a call 2 weeks later from David Kellum, said they want you to come over and try out and for the SEC Plus Network. And so that's why I got in. First, I was doing SEC Plus Network on television, and after about 4 or 5 games, I realized my face was much better for radio, and so, no, that's not it, really. Actually, I found out radio paid more. So I asked David Kellum if I could switch over after the SEC Plus ended, and he said yes, and that's kind of where it got going.
Well, listen, y'all are both doing a great job, and of course, David's a Hall of Famer, a legend in his own way. Well, tell us about this year's edition of the Ole Miss Rebels, where they are and where they're heading.
Well, I think this team has got a lot of potential. In my opinion, more scores, more offensive production than Coach Spears' last year's team, especially when Matthew Morrell kind of gets back full speed and healthy. Several guys that picked up in the portal who can score the basketball. You've got Padula, who's leading the team in scoring, Sean Padula from Virginia Tech. You've got Dre Davis from Seton Hall, who's also in the top scorers. And then you've got Juju Murray, who was with Ole Miss last year, but has made great improvement. He's scoring. So there's a lot of opportunities offensively for the Ole Miss team. Now, let me preface all this by saying that SEC is better than I've ever seen it in all of my years, not just coaching, but watching. As a matter of fact, the bracketologist has got 12, maybe 13 SEC teams getting into the NCAA tournament right now, which is unheard of, as you know. I mean, for a conference to get over 9 is unheard of, basically. So the Ole Miss team is better, but the competition level in this conference is going to be so much better. So we're going to have to wait and kind of see. Coming January 4th, Georgia's coming here for 11 a.m. game, and that'll be the start of the marathon of 18 games to figure out where this Ole Miss team is going to finish and fit in with all the tough competition within the SEC.
I want to ask you a question. This is Marshall, and you talk about the people coming in and your transfer portal and things like that. And I guess we see this with the football stuff. We're just finishing that up. Does the basketball, like at Ole Miss, does the NIL deal consortium or whatever they call that thing, does that apply to all sports? Does all sports at the school, or does each sport have its own NIL program?
No, the Grove Collective at Ole Miss handles all NIL opportunities, and yes, basketball and a lot of sports get NIL money through the Grove Collection. And obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of how much money, who gets and what and how, but I know basketball gets some NIL money. And obviously, this world has changed so much now that it's, in a lot of cases, just become a bidding war over these kids in the portal. I'll come here for a visit. How much you going to offer me? Then I'll go somewhere else for a visit. And there's no contract involved as far as years and all that. You really have nothing to go by except you're signing a free agent. Basically, he can leave you after 1 year, and so it's a tough situation from the coaching standpoint, because used to you had those recruiting periods. Then you have signing day, and it was over. Now there is no end to recruiting in college sports, and that's tough on coaches. You know, it really is. I mean, because there's not a day that goes by that there's not something coming up as far as NIL, as far as portal, people in the portal. It's just it's a non-stop process right now.
You know, we've watched a season. We're closing out on football for the year, and I've heard a lot of comments. Seems to be more parity across the NCAA and football programs now. You talk about the SEC being evenly matched. Do you think this transfer portal and this stuff is kind of creating a more parity among the SEC basketball teams, or is that a possibility, do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what I do know it has. It has caused the SEC to have more great players than I've ever seen it. You know, teams with just phenomenal talent level right now that are dominating all the other conferences. I think we were 50 as of, I don't know, a few days ago in non-conference against division major conference were 50-4. The whole SEC was.
Oh, wow.
We had the ACC SEC challenge just happened a couple of weeks ago. We played Louisville in that and got a win. Well, you know, the ACC's always been, you got Duke and you got North Carolina and you had Wake Forest and all those. It used to be considered the top conference in the country in basketball.
Yes, sir.
Now, but we just finished winning 14 out of 16 games in the ACC SEC challenge.
Wow.
So I think that kind of tells you where the SEC is right now. And like I said, it's just going to be a game-to-game marathon in the SEC, and it's going to be some great games. It's going to be some great things to watch.
Wow.
All right, now the Rebels are 11-1. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right,
Yes.
and now they got anytime you go to Memphis, I don't care if you go in football or basketball or what sport, it always seems like it's a pretty tough venue to play in, and so they've got them coming up Saturday, and then basically I assume that they start the SEC schedule, or do they have a game in between?
Yes. We play Saturday at the FedEx Forum in Memphis, and as you said, you're exactly right. It is a hard place to play. Memphis basketball gets great support from its fans, and that place, of course, hosts over 20,000. I don't know if it'll be full, but it'll be close. It has been the last few times we've played them up there, and it's become a great rivalry between Memphis and Ole Miss in basketball. We were fortunate to beat them in Oxford last year. We haven't beaten them in Memphis in several years. Hopefully this will be the first time in a while. And then once that is finished, that's a kind of a game to prepare for the SEC starting January 4th here at Oxford at 11 a.m. The heck of a time to start a game, but first SEC games with Georgia at 11 a.m. on the 4th of January, and then it goes right on to a week for January, February, and part of March.
So who are some of the top tier teams this year in the SEC?
Well, I think you got some elite teams in the SEC right now. I think Alabama and Auburn are elite. They are in Tennessee. They're just destroying. For instance, I'll just give you an example. We played Purdue in San Diego in a little tournament in Thanksgiving, and we played really well and had a chance at the end, had breaks falling our way to maybe beat Purdue. They ended up beating us 2 points. And we felt good about that. Well, Auburn was ahead of Purdue 32 points with 4 minutes to play in the game, if that gives you any indication about the eliteness of some of these teams. So those Arkansas is super loaded and are beginning to play up to their potential. But early in the year, they weren't. Coach Cal, you know how Coach Cal is. He's good he takes these teams and eventually down the road, they just get really good. And of course, he's at Arkansas now, and so they're going to Texas A&M. It's really played well and got great players out of the portal. Got the returning top guard. Florida is absolutely an elite team with the size and the guards that they've got. Like I said, in Tennessee, you throw them, of course, Kentucky, and I could.
Just go on and on and on, huh?
That's right. I mean, I could just go down the list and tell you. I mean, there's Vanderbilt's been kind of bad the last few years. Well, the new coach, much improved. Georgia with Mike White, former Ole Miss Rebel, and has got his team going. They're being picked by a lot of people as a sleeper team in the SEC. So, like I said, it's just an amazing league this year.
Oh, so as far as Coach Beard coming in, he seemed like, when I watched Texas play a couple times when he was over there, he had big physical guards, and of course, I watched him in person here on the coast a couple weeks ago against Southern Miss, and I noticed just the physicality on defense that they play. They created so many turnovers. And anytime you've got guards that can score, it seems to really advance you, especially when it comes tournament time. What are your thoughts?
You're exactly right about that. Guard play is of the essence. I mean, you got to have it. You got to have guards that can score. And the one thing I think is so much better this year for Ole Miss is the defense. You talked about it, the defensive intensity, the whole setup of the defense and what they're trying to accomplish defensively has been working really well, causing a lot of turnovers. And then on the other hand, on the other side of that coin, is Ole Miss is first or second in the nation in turnovers per game, down to averaging maybe a little over 8 turnovers a game, which is phenomenal stat for taking care of the basketball. And Coach Beard preaches that. I mean, all coaches talk about limiting turnovers and all that. But his teams this year is just doing a great job of taking care of the ball. And then on the other end are forcing turnovers and getting some easy baskets from it. Now, we'll see how that continues as we go into this SEC season. But it's been really successful so far.
Mark, this is Marshall. I told you in our little pre-game interview, so to speak, that I'd show up at some time and say we're out of time. Well, we've reached that point. We want to, Dale and I.
Well, great.
Yes,
I enjoyed it.
Well, we enjoyed having you. I'm going to ask you to hold on just a minute. We're going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and Dale and I will be back with the final segment after this commercial break. See you in a minute.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, to the final segment of our Christmas edition, Christmas 2024.
There you go.
And what a great interview. I tell you what, that guy, the Rebels, man, it sounds like they're doing pretty good in the old basketball arena.
Well, now you better be good in about every sport. I just know that, the Rebel, and I know it's not here yet, but Rebel baseball, I was told by some insiders that the baseball team needs to make the NCAA tournament this year, because I think already people are thinking the basketball team will be in there. So that's quite a pressure, that's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
especially when you got as many talented teams as they do in the SEC. He was talking about Florida. Florida's got a 7'9" center from Canada, a freshman, 7'9". I can't imagine that. Now, I saw a 7'2" guy a couple weeks ago on the coast in Biloxi that played for Ole Miss. But I also saw a 5'4" guard playing for Ole Miss. So, size, and then you get them on a small court, like a high school basketball court, and the college arena is not that much difference.
Oh, they're not the same though, right?
Well, no, they're not the same, but what I'm saying, they're almost the same.
I remember years ago when Southern Miss had a good basketball team, and they were playing for NIT and stuff like that. They came over here and played in the old high school gym at Wayne County. And I'm telling you, Dale, those guys were so, it was hard to keep them in the court. They would jump up and land on the stage and everything else. And I went to watch a professional basketball game one time. and it had at San Antonio. It had the Twin Towers out there, and that court looked like it was full of people the whole time. It looked so small.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
it does.
God,
It
those
does.
guys are so big. They're always running into each other. It's a physical game.
Yeah, I saw Southern come up when Randy Pettis and Jimmy Smith from here in our hometown were playing down at Southern. They came up to Laurel to play an inter-squad game. And we were living in Laurel at the time, so I went to the game and or the scrimmage and watched them play. And it was the same way over there, you know. And,
Crazy.
Yeah.
And the speed.
Yeah.
You can throw 22 out there on a football field, and it's 100 yards long and 50 so wide, you know, and you got room to run. But man, you run into folks on that basketball court. That's a physical game, man.
Yeah, it is.
What else is going on in the world of sports that's tickling your fancy, Dale?
Well, I don't really know. Let me see. Trying to think it. You know, the transfer portal is open until January the 2nd, so all the colleges some of them are playing football and trying to recruit transfers. So I think Southern Miss, I was told, had 16 players visit from Marshall University this past weekend in Hattiesburg, and I think they got 10 to 12 commitments, including a pretty good sized quarterback that started up there last year. So you know, they're making a little headway for the Southern Miss fans, and Ole Miss and State seem to be doing pretty good in the portal. I think Mississippi State got them an experienced quarterback coming from Florida State.
Oh my
Oh
goodness!
goodness! And Ole Miss is still looking for one. I heard there was a quarterback from Duke. You know, their first and second string quarterbacks entered the transfer portal, so they'll have their third stringer playing against Ole Miss in that bowl game. Well, the first string quarterback, he's actually visiting Ole Miss. And so, you know, they're trying to get an experienced quarterback since they've lost two quarterbacks up there. They lost, of course, Jackson Dart to graduation, and the Howard boy, Walker Howard, he transferred to Louisiana Lafayette. So now they're down to just one experienced quarterback.
That one looked mighty good.
He does. He did. But you know, when in the SEC, they're gonna pick up your tendencies and weaknesses the more you play.
It won't take but a minute, will it?
Yeah.
Well, what else is going on in sports?
Well, let me see. I didn't do a column this week. I'm resting for a couple of weeks.
Well, you resting?
Well, I'm trying to recharge the old battery up there in the head, you know, a little bit.
Okay.
Plus, I'll be going in and out of town a lot, and so I didn't want to take away from family time in any way during this precious time of the year.
Well, it is a good time, Dale, and I tell you what, I've enjoyed our time together today, like I always do. In this special season of warmth and giving and the spirit of Christmas, I'm gonna be nice to you today. Wish you a Merry Christmas.
Well, I want to
for you and your family.
I want to wish you and your family, and I want to wish all our listeners a very Merry Christmas. And
Well, I'm not gonna let you get up on me. I'm gonna wish our listeners a Merry Christmas too.
you are.
Yes, sir.
Well, I thought-
You're not gonna get up on me.
I thought I had one up on.
No, no. Dale and I both. We wish you all a Merry
you
Christmas
can't get
out
one
there.
up on there.
No,
Is anybody mistaking you for Santa Claus? I just wanted to ask that
every day.
every day.
I am Santa Claus.
Well, don't wear a red coat.
They'll be hollering, the red coats are coming. The red coat is coming. On that happy note, we've about come to end our time. I want to thank all y'all for listening to us and remind you that you can follow us on our YouTube channel. Well, on Facebook first at the Brouhaha, and all of our shows are cataloged for you where you can listen to them on demand on our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. Dale and I really wish you all a heartfelt Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks for being with us, Dale. But you know, it's come that time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, everybody, and Dale and I'll see you next time for more of the Brouhaha. Merry Christmas, and get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.